Hello friends, it's Cindy Brumbaugh from CindyLeeBDesigns.com, independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. Today I'd like to show you this pretty feminine card I made that I think I'm going to call a peek through the middle, since we're peeking at the inside of the card and we're peeking through the middle. I couldn't find the real name for it anywhere out there in the blogosphere, so I'm just going to call it a peek through the middle. So on this card, I use the Southern Serenade stamp set. You'll find this tucked back on page 49 of the Occasions catalog. Has a pretty floral image with some smaller accents, some lace detailing, and a really neat font that has Happy Birthday, Thank You, and I'm so blessed to call you my friend. On this card, we used basic black, and we used powder pink as our accent color. This is the Fresh Florals Designer Series paper, and it comes from the paper stack that's a 12 by 12, and it comes with 40 sheets, and it has the 5 in colors that are current this year and that will also be current in the new catalog. So this is the powder pink, and since we're using powder pink, we went ahead and used powder pink as our ink, and then we use some stamping blends to do some coloring in. So let's get started. So to use Stampin' Blends, you need to use a Memento so that the colors don't muddle or bleed into each other. So we'll be using Memento Tuxedo Black ink, and I use the Pink Pirouette, the darker of the Stampin' Blends, and also the darker Old Olive. For the image on the front of this card, we're going to cut a 3 by 4 1/4 piece of basic black, and that's going to be cut out with the largest oval that you find in the layering oval framelits. And then you're also going to be cutting out this image on the front with the largest oval of the stitched frames framelit set. And then in the inside, we're going to be using the next largest scalloped oval from the layering ovals, and we'll be using the next largest stitched frame oval. There we go. So what I did is I did kind of the outside of the card first, so we're going to set the card base aside. So what I did here, as you can see, is I stamped powder pink with this lace image. This lace image here, I stamped powder pink. And then I just stamped the floral image in Memento Black right on top of it. And then I came back with my Old Olive, and I just accented in all the leaf designs there. And then make sure you always click your Stampin' Blends so that since they're an alcohol marker, they can dry out if you leave them open. And also, I noticed I was flying the other day, and I'm not sure if it affected it, but one of mine was unpopped, and I said I have to make sure that I always have them popped back in together. So the other image that's on the inside of our card that says, I'm so blessed to call you my friend, I of course, stamped in Memento Black, and I also used the smaller little posy here and stamped it on top of there. So then I just used the darker Pink Pirouette alcohol marker, and I just colored in the little posy. I find that this Pink Pirouette alcohol marker matches perfectly with the powder pink. And then I used the darker of the Old Olive, and I just colored in the leaf. I liked how it brought color from the outside. It brought the color from the outside to the inside. And as you can see, I also stamped a little floral image down here and did the coloring with the Old Olive and the dark Pink Pirouette. Okay, so now I have this part done, but I also would like to accent these little posies right in the middle. So I used the smallest of the pearls. It seems like I never use my small pearls, and I just accented using these little pearls, the middles of the flower. When I used the middle-sized pearl that was up a size, it kind of covered up the black that was inside the image of the posy. And I think this one is nice because you still see a little bit of the black, and then the pearls just enough to give your eye something to look at there. So just use your paper piercer You can use the end of your paper snips. And I put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the little pearls on the posies for the outside of the card. So now we have the outside and the inside done. So now we're going to make our card base. Now our card base is a 5.5 inch square. So you're just going to cut a piece of paper to 5.5 inches by 5.5 inches, and then you're going to score it on any one of the sides that you want, but you're going to score it 4 1/4. And then you just fold back at 4 1/4, and you have this top flap right here. And since this is 1 1/4 and this is 5.5, naturally our designer series paper is going to have a 1/8 inch border all around, so that's going to make it to be 5 1/4 by 1. So then we're just going to take some of our adhesive. You could use your snail, your Tombow, whatever one you prefer, and you're just going to put a 1/8 inch border around there, and you have the top part of the card done. Now the next thing I'm going to do is put this inside. Usually I do my inside last, but on this card I like to have a little bit of a guide, and you'll see how it helps me to put on that next piece. So then I just use a 4 by 5 1/4 so that I have an 1/8 inch border around on the inside. And as I said, I stamped that little posy, and you're going to keep it way down towards the edge. Okay? And then this piece is the bottom of your card that you're going to attach the oval to hold the card together, but this bottom part is 1.5 by 5.5. So 1.5 by 5.5. And since it's 1.5 by 5.5, that meant our designer series paper would be 1 1/4 by 5 1/4. So 1 1/4 by 5 1/4. And as always, the measurements for everything that we're making will be on the blog post for this card, the peek through the middle card. So then we just put a border around the whole outside, and then we have to just put this lined up with the bottom of the card base. So we line it up with the bottom of the card base, and it looks like mine's a little bit longer. We're going to trim that right at the last minute. So we're going to put this at the bottom so that it's flush with the bottom of the back of the card. And when you're sure you've got it straight, you're going to fold this down, and we're going to be putting this oval here to hold the card together. You've probably seen these cards with acetate put in between those, but acetate to me usually just becomes a canvas for glued fingerprints all over it. So it was sturdy enough without the acetate, so I left the acetate off. But you will probably see a lot of these cards, this style of card, done with an acetate. So what I'm going to do is remember how much space is here, and I'm going to put Stampin' Dimensionals on the back of my larger oval that's going to be on the front of the card. So if you just keep yourself to the edges and put 3 on the top edge and 3 on the bottom edge, and you keep it close to the scallop edge, then you're going to be good, because we have enough room there. So there we go, and we take our little protective backing off of our Stampin' Dimensionals. And then we're just going to, once again, line up this bottom panel. Line up that bottom panel so it's flush along the bottom. Close that top flap. And then we're just going to, whoa! And we're going to need one more hand. Okay, so now we have it down. And we're going to put our oval trying not to have my head in the video. So there we go. So we have put our card together. There you go, ta-da. Okay, so on this card, I made a birthday card, but there's also that great sentiment It says thank you. So this one I'm going to make into a thank you card. So I'm just going to ink it up with Memento black, and then I'm just going to stamp it right in the middle. Thank you. Okay, so that thank you sentiment and the happy birthday sentiment both go very well with I'm so blessed to call you my friend. Now you'll notice that this is smaller than the oval on the outside. That way we can just tuck it right to the inside of the card. And I'm not going to put any dimensionals on this oval because it's already, you know, bulky enough on the outside. So then I just put that into the middle of the card, and then it's covered up with the oval on the outside of the card. Isn't that pretty? Now, one thing you want to do is, there they are, right in front of me. Make sure you color in the little guy in here. There we go. And color in the pink posy down here in the corner. And the reason I said to make sure you tuck it into that corner is you see you don't have a ton of room here, so you want to have that covered up. And as you can see on this, my black was a little bit too long, so I'm just going to trim off that little edge there. All those little last minute details, right? Okay, so when I finished this card, I opened it up, and this was okay, but I thought it would look a little more finished off if I cut one more of the ovals. So I cut one more of the black oval, and then I just lined up the scallops on the one side. And when you line up the scallops on the one side, they line up on the other. And then I just covered that. It gave it a little more of a finished look to it. So there you go. We made a peek through the middle card, and this card could be done with any type of image that you, a nice large image that you can keep the card held together. I did make a card earlier when I was experimenting, and I put some vellum on it, and I thought, okay, that could be a see-through card, and I played around with the vellum, and this one I did a bigger oval, and it was just one of my prototypes. So you could put some vellum on here, or you could use acetate, but it stayed together sturdy enough without it, so I just left it that way. So you can find all the measurements and all the colors, materials, and everything I did for this card called the Peek Through the Middle card on my blog, cindyleeBdesigns.com. If you have any questions, you can always email me at cindyleeb@gmail.com or call or text me at 724-323-2296. Thanks for buzzing by, friends.